I don't know if all of you are going to know this, but a couple years ago I did some live streams with backports in Generation 2. One of them was Honchkrow, and when I played it, it got the best time overall in my Pokemon Crystal tier list. It was around an hour and 15 minutes, so since then I've really improved my play, and a lot of Pokemon have eclipsed that time. That said, in Generation 2 I started fully evolved as Honchkrow. I didn't have to evolve from a Murkrow, so that gave Honchkrow a big advantage. Today in Pokemon Platinum, I'm going to have to start as the first stage, which is not great when the first gym leader is Roark. The rules for the solo challenge are I can only use my starter in battle, no items in battle except held items, no glitches, exploits, or sequence breaking, and I'm not allowed to use evasion boosting moves until I reach level 100. Some additional Pokemon Platinum series stuff is that I have to run a hardy nature. I'm not allowed to select my nature like I can in other runs, and since these are first playthroughs, I'm not going to be using hidden power. Okay, so Murkrow's stats, it starts with 60 HP, 85 attack and special attack, 42 defense and special defense, and 91 speed. This is one of the Generation 2 Pokemon that when it evolves, it actually has less speed. Honchkrow's base speed is 71, so it gets slower, which is a little bit frustrating. That said, evolution still will make sense. Believe me, the base stat improvement between Murkrow and Honchkrow is very pronounced. But I'll talk about that more later. For now, we need to talk about Murkrow in the early game. It starts with Peck, Astonish, and Pursuit. A pretty good starting set, 2 same type attack bonus moves, and Pursuit is going to give it decent damage against Roark. Through level up it gets Haze, which is actually a pretty good move for these solo challenges. It counters out Intimidate, which is one of the most annoying abilities for physical attackers. And Murkrow is essentially a physical attacker. I know it has balanced stats, but what special move is it going to use, at least in the early game? It gets Wing Attack, then Nightshade, which is technically special, but it deals fixed damage, so it's not going to be utilizing my special attack stat. Beyond that, it gets Assurance, Taunt, Feint Attack, Mean Look, and Sucker Punch. Not a single special move. Through TM and HM, the only special stuff that I get access to is Hidden Power, Psychic, Shadow Ball, Dark Pulse, and Dream Eater. I find the last of these moves absolutely hilarious. Murkrow cannot learn any sleep-inducing moves through regular means, it cannot learn any through breeding, it cannot learn any through tutor, and it also can't learn any if you transfer it up from Generation 3. Although, if you do that, you can teach Murkrow Nightmare, another move that only works when your opponent is asleep. What was Game Freak thinking? This makes no sense. Now in Generation 2, some Pokemon do learn moves like Dream Eater and Nightmare so that they can play around sleep strategies like when the opponent uses Rest. Maybe that's what we're seeing here. It's an artifact from the earlier games that's just been passed down through time and Murkrow still has it. I'm not entirely sure, but it's definitely a strange quirk of this move pool. Coming back to the early game, Murkrow is actually really good here. It has a medium slow growth rate, which means it levels up incredibly fast. Just fighting wild Pokemon, trying to finally catch a Starly because I keep one-shotting them, I level up to 8, which is pretty good considering I haven't fought any of the trainers in the early game. And I'm going to battle every single one of them, except the guy with Magikarp who is north of Jubilife City. His experience yields are just terrible. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to need to overlevel for Roark. I hope that I can beat him before level 21 when Murkrow gets access to Nightshade. After defeating all of the trainers north of Jubilife City, I go into this building and pick up the Quick Claw. I can see this item being useful with Honchkrow later on when my speed gets lowered. For now though, it's just going to hang out in the bag. Today, the rival's going to be picking Piplup. I think it makes most sense. It's a Steel type, and believe me, the Honchkrow-line does not have good moves to manage Steel type Pokemon. This seems to be the case with most flying types. It was also the case last time in Pokemon Platinum when I beat the game using the Crobat line. By this point in the run, I've learned Haze. It's not useful here yet though because Starly doesn't have Intimidate. I knock it out in only one turn. Piplup comes out next. I could have used Haze here to get rid of the debuff from Growl, but it would still take the same number of turns to finish off the rival's final Pokemon, so I didn't go for it. As I continue fighting trainers, let's talk about Murkrow's ability, Super Luck. It increases its critical hit ratio by 1 stage. With +1 in Generation 3, 4, and 5, Murkrow will have a 12.5% chance to critical hit. Later on when I learn a move like Night Slash though, these effects will combine together, so I'll have a 25% chance to crit on every turn, which is just fantastic. It feels a little bit like Generation 1. At level 15, I teach Murkrow Wing Attack in the place of Peck. Now, time for Orberg City. Here I get to test my damage ranges against a bunch of Rock-type Pokemon and see how Murkrow is doing. At level 17, it's pretty clear to me that I'm not going to be able to defeat Roark. So I level up to 18 over the next damage rounding threshold, and here I felt like I should at least try Roark and see how Murkrow is going to do. He leads with Geodude. I'm going to have to use Pursuit here for maximum damage. It's unfortunately just barely not doing half, so he takes some damage, around 1/3 from Rock Throw, before he uses a potion. This doesn't allow the Geodude to get in another hit, but it does waste time. Next is Onix. This Pokemon has really good physical defense, as everyone will know. I can't do very much with Pursuit, roughly 1/4 per turn, and even though Onix is weak offensively, its Rock Throws are still doing a decent amount. I don't even make it to the Cranidos because Onix gets a critical hit. It didn't make any sense to try this fight again at level 18, I just don't have enough damage, so I level up to 20 over the next damage rounding threshold, and this actually is pretty fast for Murkrow. The medium slow growth rate is helping here, plus Wing Attack is great against all the Pokemon that spawn in this patch of grass. The only exception there is Geodude, which I have to knock out using Pursuit, and sometimes it survives one hit. In the end though, the Ponyta are giving good experience. I level up to 20 fairly quickly and make my way back to Roark. Geodude now is a 2-hit because I'm over a damage rounding threshold. Onix is a 3-hit, well it would have been, but he uses a potion here healing it. That's frustrating. Still though, it doesn't give the Onix one more hit because with Super Luck, I get a critical hit knocking it out. It would have been able to attack otherwise. Cranidos is last. I expected to 2-shot here, but Murkrow has enough health to survive. However, Super Luck is great. I get another critical hit and his ace goes down in 1 turn. On my way north, Murkrow levels up to 21 during the multi-battle and I teach Nightshade in the place of Astonish. This move is usually good in the early game, at least in Generation 1, but after Generation 1 when it stopped dealing damage to normal type Pokemon, it's just really not that useful. I'll hold onto it for now, but I don't expect it to play a big role during this run. Commander Mars is next. I one-shot the Zubat using Wing Attack, and then the Purugly comes in. Check out this damage range, it's really unfortunate. It goes for Fake Out, which does massive damage because of a critical hit, and then my Wing Attack does more than half, Purugly heals with an Oran Berry, and my follow-up Wing Attack just barely doesn't knock it out. Because of this, Purugly uses Scratch, getting a second critical hit, knocking Murkrow out. After this fight, I actually looked up if Super Luck increases the enemy's critical hit ratio as well as the user's, and it doesn't, so this Purugly just got really lucky. The third way it got lucky was I didn't heal before the battle, which is just player error. I kind of figured I would be fine, but I wasn't. Now that I've healed, I'm sure I'm going to win this. Purugly's not going to crit 2 times in a row. And even without critting, I roll better damage with Wing Attack, allowing me to 2-shot Mars's ace. So that's just one other way that she got lucky during the first fight. I can't believe I ended up losing there. Inside the forest, I fight the trainer who has Pachirisu. This is one case where Nightshade is useful because I don't have to make contact with it, potentially triggering static. Also conveniently at level 23, it looks like I have exactly the damage needed to 2-shot. So the next gym is going to be very easy. The experience from the trainers in here levels Murkrow up to 25, where I teach it Assurance in the place of Pursuit. Now it's time for Gardenia. Maybe we shouldn't have put an intro there because this fight is so easy. Wing Attack one-shots the Turtwig so it can't set up Reflect, and from there I one-shot both the Cherim and the Roserade. It's nice that this was a fast win because now things are going to continue to accelerate for Murkrow. First of all, I go and fight Jupiter, who isn't really a problem for Murkrow. I just spam Wing Attack here and eventually win. With her defeated, I could pick up the TM for Thief, but I don't really think it's going to be that useful for Murkrow. While it is a Dark-type move, Assurance does more raw damage. Plus it has upside because if Murkrow has taken damage in the same turn, then Assurance will do double damage. And this secondary effect is going to only become more useful once I evolve, which is just around the corner. In the old chateau, I pick up the Dread Plate. This is going to be really useful to boost the power of dark type moves, and I'm going to be spamming a lot of them throughout this playthrough. For the most part, I think this is going to be a set it and forget it type of item. I also picked up the Substitute TM, and I'm just going to spoil this for you now. I am not going to end up needing this throughout the remainder of the run. Normally its niche is against Fantina, but as a dark type, I don't anticipate that Murkrow is going to be struggling against her. And I said Murkrow, but it's actually going to be Honchkrow, because in Wayward Cave, right inside the entrance, before I go further into the cave and pick up the rare candy, there is a hidden Dusk Stone, which I can use to evolve Murkrow into its final form. Honchkrow's base stat total is 100 points above Murkrow's. It has 100 HP, 125 attack, 52 defense and special defense, 71 speed, which is 20 points lower than Murkrow, and 105 special attack. Now, I want to linger here and talk about the speed interaction, because while it is annoying that Honchkrow gets slower, Pokemon Platinum as a game does not have very many fast enemy Pokemon. Cynthia's Garchomp has 150 speed, Lucian's Alakazam has 156 speed, but obviously we don't need to worry about it. Cyrus's Crobat is pretty fast, and his Weavile is as well. That one could could be scary because it does have ice-type moves, but overall, I think base 71 speed is probably enough to outspeed most of the opponents throughout the playthrough. So the fact that my speed goes down, but the base stat total increases by 100 points, really means we get 120 points distributed into places that matter much more for a solo run. 125 attack is fantastic. I'm running only physical moves right now, and 105 special attack is going to be more than enough to utilize Nasty Plot, which Honchkrow can learn at level 35. This is one of two moves that Murkrow did not have access to. We also are going to get Dark Pulse at level 55, which is a special move, and I don't have to wait all the way to Victory Road to pick up the TM for it. Unfortunately, in terms of other special moves that Honchkrow can learn, the list does not expand. I think in the late game, I'm going to be running Dark Pulse, Psychic, Shadow Ball, and Nasty Plot. But getting to that set is going to take a lot longer than I would like. In Hearthome City, I could pick up the Shell Bell, but I'm going to skip it today. I don't think it'll be that useful with Honchkrow since I'm mostly just going to be using the Dread Plate. I also could have visited Amity Square and picked up the Spooky Plate to boost the damage of Shadow Ball once I pick that move up. It will be the first special move that I get access to in this run, but I decided to forego it to save a little bit of time, so I head right into the gym and face Fantina. Her first Pokemon, it's Dusclops, right? I use Assurance against it and easily one-shot, well, after I get hit by Shadow Sneak for 4 points of damage. Next, she sends in her Mismagius. Unfortunately for Honchkrow, it chooses Confuse Ray right away. Now, whenever Honchkrow hits itself in Confusion, it deals massive damage. The reason is, Confusion damage is calculated using your attack stat against your physical defense. This is really bad for a Pokemon that has extremely high physical attack and very low physical defense. Due to the self-inflicted damage, I make it by the Mismagius with only 32 hit points remaining. Honchkrow hits itself one more time against Haunter, which is really unfortunate, giving it a chance to use Hypnosis. Because of this, it's able to hit with Shadow Claw, and I actually take a loss here. As a Dark type, I wasn't expecting this to happen. Anyway, the Mismagius doesn't always use Confuse Ray. In the next battle, it doesn't, and because of that, I knock it out for free. Then, without Confusion, I'm going to move first against the Haunter, and I can easily one-shot. Rival number 3 comes right after Fantina. Historiavia has Intimidate, but I just cancel this using Haze. That's why I've kept it on my moveset. I get a critical hit, knocking out in one turn. This is great because then it can't use Endeavor after surviving on a sliver of health. Wing Attack one-shots the Ponyta. The Prinplup is able to survive one attack and use Bubble Beam, but it's not doing enough damage. Obviously, Roselia isn't a threat. But you know what is a threat? This little Bonsly on the next route, it uses Rock Throw, gets a critical hit, and takes Honchkrow down from green health to red. I was so terrified that it was going to do that again. I was targeting the Mime Jr. because I felt like I wasn't at risk during this fight, but I immediately start targeting the Bonsly after that. Assurance doesn't do enough damage. Luckily, Bonsly targets my HM user, and this allows Honchkrow to pull through with the win. In double battles like this, which are mandatory for the storyline, I don't require myself to reset if my HM user helps out in some small way like this. On my way north to Solaceon Town, I pick up the Steelwing TM, which is over here by the Lost Tower. I didn't grab this item with Crobat, and it could have been useful during that playthrough, and I'm thinking the same might be the case with Honchkrow. By the way, inside of Solaceon Town is the first available Person Berry. I wish I had had this for Fantina. That would have prevented the one reset. North of the town, I pick up the Roost TM. I'm not sure if I'm going to need this. Typically, Recovery is much more useful in solo challenges when you don't have access to a setup move. If you're not doing enough damage, you can simply heal, buying yourself more time to strike back with weaker moves. If you're setting up, then your moves will be more powerful, and you're more likely to just sweep with a series of one-hits. The only time that it's good to have both a healing move and a setup move is if you need to heal in order to set up more to get the sweep. I'm not sure that that's going to be a requirement for Honchkrow. Ruin Maniac Calvin doesn't really slow Honchkrow down. This is another case where Nightshade is helpful against steel types. Ace Trainer Dennis doesn't cause any issues, and I make my way into Veilstone City. I'm not going to be able to get Nasty Plot before Maylene, but it wouldn't help anyway, because you get Nasty Plot before you get access to any special moves. This is a very strange design choice. It makes Nasty Plot feel like a useless move when you first obtain it. But it's actually probably the best move in all of Pokemon Platinum. I think because of the interaction with physical attack and confusion, Swords Dance ends up being slightly worse. And unlike in my Toxicroak video where I had to choose between Nasty Plot or Swords Dance, with Honchkrow there's no such choice. I think Nasty Plot just makes the most sense. But not right now. For Maylene, I'm just going to be relying on Wing Attack. Meditite's first, one shot. Machoke is second. also a one-shot. Oh, Chubby, no. I need to record this Maylene battle and you're screaming. By the way, the cats are allowed back in the office right now because our foster cat apparently really loves cats but really hates people. So we are socializing all of the cats with each other right now. Anyway, back to Maylene with some distractions in the background. Lucario can use Drain Punch or Force Palm for neutral damage because we're a dark flying type, but these moves aren't doing that much damage and Wing Attack is able to two-shot. So overall, an easy victory over the fighting type specialist. And that's where the easy stuff ends and the surprises begin, because in this multi-battle against two galactic grunts, I actually end up taking a loss because of confusion. This seems to be the Achilles heel of Honchkrow. I didn't save before this fight, so I ended up deciding to reset and going back before Maylene. The reason was, I think I'm going to win because Lucas has a bunch of Pokemon that he's going to send in, and even if I lose, it's going to take quite a while for all of my HM users to faint to weak galactic Pokemon. It really felt to me like just defeating Maylene all over again with Honchkrow would be the faster option. This time the fight is closer because Lucario goes for Force Palm turn 1. It is faster than Honchkrow. Wing Attack does half, then Lucario goes for Drain Punch, healing it. I was scared this would heal it out of KO range, and it does, but Lucario doesn't have enough damage to knock out Honchkrow on the next turn, so it didn't matter anyway. Back to the Rocket Grunts. I maybe should have used a Person Berry for this fight. I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm talking about optimizing this silly battle. Anyway, they just target the Clefairy with the confusion-inducing moves this time around, and that allows me to win. On my way, Honchkrow levels up to 35, and I teach it Nasty Plot in the place of Haze, which is objectively just a mistake. I realized about 1 second after I did it. Nightshade should have been the move that I deleted. It's no longer useful. And I'm gonna need Haze against Crasher Wake's Gyarados, which is coming up next, because while I do have Nasty Plot, I have no special moves that I can boost with it. I know I'm repeating myself, but this is a really frustrating part of Honchkrow's design. Also, it doesn't get access to any special flying type moves, so my best option would be Fly. Well, that's not entirely true. It does learn Air Cutter through the move tutor. This costs 4 blue shards, 2 red shards, and 2 green shards. In general, in these solo speedruns, I'm trying to avoid the move tutor just because collecting all the items to get the moves tends to cost a lot of time. In retrospect, maybe picking up these items makes sense for Honchkrow. I'm not entirely sure. Let me know what you think in the comments. But I don't want to teach that. I'm going to rely on other moves instead. Luckily, I can fix my mistake fairly easily. On the beach, I pick up a Heart Scale. This allows me to use the move reminder to teach Haze in the place of Nightshade. And now that I have this move, it baits me into a mistake against the rival. He's setting up Double Team with his Staravia, and I'm going to clear Intimidate using Haze. But I figured why not clear his double teams so that I can hit him consistently on the next turn. What I really should have done was taught Aerial Ace in the place of Wing Attack before this battle so that I didn't care about Double Team. Instead, I do damage, then clear with Haze, and after that, he uses Endeavor, draining Honchkrow's health, and Staravia uses Quick Attack, knocking me out. So, unfortunate choices there by me. When I'm not making silly choices like this, then I easily defeat the rival and head into Crasher Wake's gym. I'm gonna fight all the trainers here. I want to get as much experience as is possible. I'm starting to worry about this fight. Honchkrow is slower than his ace, and it does have Ice Fang. Also, without the ability to set up, I'm gonna have to rely on my raw damage to hopefully two-shot all of his Pokemon. The experience from all the trainers levels Honchkrow up to 40, and I decided this was enough to at least try Crasher Wake. Gyarados is first, and it does not have an Ice type move, so it's going to be using Waterfall here for primary damage. I use Haze to eliminate Intimidate, and then Waterfall does about a third to Honchkrow. That's low defensive stats for you. Wing Attack on the next turn does roughly half. Waterfall brings me down to orange health, and then Wing Attack fails to knock out Crasher Wake's first Pokemon. So I'm going to need to be a higher level for this battle. If I use Rare Candies at level 45, I can teach Night Slash in the place of Assurance. This is a far better move for Honchkrow to be using. It has an increased critical hit ratio, so it's going to be at stage 2 because of Super Luck, giving it a 25% chance to crit on any given turn. Plus it has higher base power, so I am able to two-shot the Gyarados. From there, Floatzel comes in, it uses Brine. I'm under half health, so this does double damage, but Honchkrow hangs on with 12 hit points and knocks out his ace. Okay, only one Pokemon left over, but I'm not sure I'm going to one-hit, and it has Rock Tomb, which will finish Honchkrow. I go for Night Slash, and in this case, case, super luck comes through for me, giving Honchkrow a critical hit. This win means I can Dude, I just started doing voiceover again, and you decide to interrupt me right away. Okay. Then he walks out of the room. Alright, so what I was about to say is now that I've defeated Crasher Wake, I can head north past the Psyduck and make progress towards my first special move of the run. During this, I'm going to be using Aerial Ace for the Foggy region. This just makes things more consistent. I ran into the Probopass guy, Ernest, again. Luckily this time around, unlike with Crobat, he's not really a problem. Night Slash is doing enough damage. I grab myself the Shadow Ball TM and I teach it in the place of Haze because now that I have a special move, I don't have to clear Intimidate's debuff. Cyrus number 1 is really easy. 1-shot the Sneasel, 2-shot the Murkrow, 1-shot the Golbat. I took a slightly suboptimal routing for the next section of the game, but I do think it will be better with Honchkrow overall. Normally, I don't go south of Veilstone City and pick up this rare candy across the pond until later on when I'm backtracking to the Lake of Valor. The reason I'm doing this now is so that once I go to Floroma Meadow, pick up the rare candy there, and then the one between Jubilife City and Canalave City, I'm gonna have 3 candies, and I'm hoping that I can use these to level up to 55 as soon as possible to get access to Dark Pulse, my second special move. I battled some optional trainers before Canalave City, but this doesn't give me enough experience to get to level 52, so I'm gonna have to take on the rival without access to Dark Pulse. Still, just with Shadow Ball, I should be able to manage myself here. The Staraptor at the beginning of the fight loves to spam Double Team over and over again. I can just set up for free here with Nasty Plot and then use Aerial Ace to bypass accuracy checks and knock it out over 2 turns. With it out of the way, then I can spam Shadow Ball with my raised special attack and sweep his entire team. I did go for Aerial Ace against the Heracross just for 4 times damage. Either way, I think I would have knocked it out. The Empoleon goes down to a single hit, and with that, I take an easy win. Still not 52, so I have to head into the gym and face a Steelix to get more experience. I don't want to fight optional trainers. In this case though, I'm actually doing okay damage, so Night Slash is coming through for me here. Caesar's Scissor isn't an issue. I can set up for Black Belt David and then use Shadow Ball to sweep his team. After that, I'm level 52, and I can use my 3 candies to go to 55 and teach Dark Pulse in the place of Night Slash. Okay, I want everyone to look at this. This is probably the most satisfying battle I've ever had in Pokemon Platinum. With Dark Pulse, I can one-shot Ace Trainer Brianna's Bronzor with consistency. I love seeing these Pokemon faint to a single hit. I assume Byron is going to be at least theoretically slightly more difficult. Let's see how it goes. His first Pokemon, of course, is Magneton. It has Thunderbolt, and I know it's going to attack with this, unless it chooses to go for Metal Sound on turn 1, dropping my special defense, which is not something I'm worried about. I got in 1 Nasty Plot because of this. Then, turn 2, I use Dark Pulse, which is resisted. However, it still does enough damage, and Magneton faints to a single hit. Next is Bastiodon. Now, it's likely going to attack with Stone Edge, a move that is both inaccurate and going to attack my physical defense, which is higher right now. I thought I could survive 1 hit from Stone Edge, but then it just misses. So I get to +4 essentially for free. From there, Dark Pulse is able to one-shot the Bastiodon, Steelix comes in, and it also falls to a single hit. Alright, I actually expected Byron to be a little bit more challenging than that. Honchkrow is sort of a monster. It steamrolls its way through both Saturn and Mars's teams at the 2 lakes, and then I head north towards Snowpoint City. On my way, I have to face Ace Trainer Dalton. Dark Pulse does not make contact, so Electabuzz is not going to be useful with static, and I'm also able to one-shot the Magmar. Candice. I don't really know what to say about this fight. I can just tank a hit from the Sneasel because it's pretty weak, setting up Nasty Plot, and then from there with +2 special attack, I just sweep her entire team. I think the only thing that could have gone wrong here is that she sends in Abomasnow first before the Frostlass, which activates its Snow Cloak. Still though, Dark Pulse just hits, and it's a ghost type, so I obliterate it. Last is Piloswine, and its price is Ace, so as you would expect, it's incompetent. With the 7th badge, I can now use Rock Climb outside of battle. I'm gonna go back to Celestic Town and then head west. I can use Rock Smash to break these 2 boulders, avoiding 1 trainer, and then Rock Climb on this face to grab the TM for Psychic. Now technically, this is available in the game corner, but I would have had to go all in on getting it because it costs so many coins. The reason I didn't do that is because I estimated that I would have lost more real time just picking up and selling high-priced items to get Psychic slightly earlier. Plus, I would have had to run the Amulet coin as my held item instead of the Dread Plate for a majority of this run. Okay, Honchkrow has reached its final form now. Dark Pulse, Shadow Ball, Nasty Plot, and Psychic. I am going to start skipping items that have a high associated time cost, like the rare candy inside of the Team Galactic building. Okay, are you ready for a surprising fight? Cyrus number 2 does not go how I was expecting it. I thought I could just set up with Nasty Plot here and then sweep his team with +2. I don't want to over set up because that'll just waste time. But then Honchkrow survives my hit on a sliver of health. It recovers some health with a citrus berry and then goes for an absolutely massive drill peck, which was not a crit. Luckily for me, I'm able to knock it out on the next turn. Dark types I don't have good moves against. Luckily the Crobat is not a dark type, so I have neutral damage with Dark Pulse. But the Crobat is fast, so it moves first with Poison Fang. Luckily for Honchkrow, it survives, but unluckily I get poisoned. If I'm not able to one-shot the Crobat, then I'm going to lose. But Psychic does enough damage. Okay, heading up Mount Coronet, I'm also going to skip the rare candy that requires one optional battle and potentially incurs another optional battle if I don't successfully skip the spinner. The double battle at the top of the mountain is really easy. Unlike with Crobat, I don't even need to knock out the Munchlax and get a better Pokemon from Berry. So it's time to descend into the Distortion world to face Cyrus for a third and final time. This is where things get a little bit complicated. Houndoom is first, and it likes to go for Will-O-Wisp, which is an annoying status. Cutting my attack is not a problem, but the fact that I'll take damage every turn is. Especially if after one Nasty Plot, I'm not able to one-shot the Houndoom. It's able to attack with a Flamethrower, Cyrus uses a full restore, and since I'm taking burn damage, this is going to be a loss. I do make it to the Weavile, but it's faster, and it's able to use Ice Punch, which of course is super effective. So I'm gonna have to solve that Pokemon as well as the Houndoom. The simplest solution right away is using rare candies. I have 5 of them, and I can go all the way to level 66, improving my damage. Now, with one Nasty Plot, I am able to knock out the Houndoom, but the Weavile that's next is still a problem. It flinches with a Fake Out, then uses Ice Punch, and it brings Honchkrow down to red health. Also, it freezes, giving me another reset. I tried setting up twice against the Houndoom, but this doesn't really improve things against the Weavile. I need to either move first against it or have enough health to survive the Ice Punch. In this case, I do survive Ice Punch, but I'm burned because of Will-O-Wisp, so Honchkrow faints after knocking out his ace. This is where we wrap back around to the very beginning of the video. I said the Quick Claw might be useful with Honchkrow, and I was right. If I equip it here, then I'll eventually move first against the Weavile, knock it out for free. That happens right away. I don't even have to lose once. From there, I sweep through the Gyarados, the Honchkrow, and the Crobat, winning against Cyrus. Nice. Time for Volkner. He caused problems with Crobat, another flying type. I don't think Honchkrow is going to have issues here because I've planned for this battle and I have Nasty Plot. With the Cherry Berry, I know that Jolteon is going to go for Thunder Wave. I can cancel this move out, set up once for free with Nasty Plot, and then sweep the rest of his team with Dark Pulse. This win puts Volkner back in his place because he's supposed to be trivial. Victory Road time. I have to go up against the Blissey person with no physical moves. It's fine, I have Nasty Plot. I also chance a Nasty Plot against the Mamoswine, which misses Blizzard. I don't think this was the best play. Anyway, I still managed to win. Machamp is easy. I don't have a flying type move, but I have Psychic now, so it's super effective against fighting types. Then I run into Veteran Edgar, and his Porygon Z has Thunderbolt, which does a lot of damage. I set up once with Nasty Plot, but this isn't enough to knock out his Empoleon, so it's able to finish Honchkrow, and I have to take a very painful blackout, the first one of this playthrough. This requires me to navigate all the way back through Victory Road, wasting a lot of time. On my way, I got to contemplate what my strategy would be against Veteran Edgar. Turns out it's pretty simple. I'm not taking half damage from the Thunderbolt, I just wasn't able to heal last time prior to the fight. This way, I can set up twice with Nasty Plot and then one-shot the Empoleon. Time for the final rival battle. The lead Staraptor has close combat, but instead of using it, it just goes for U-turn, switching out, sending in Heracross. I just ignored its close combat, set up more with Nasty Plot, and then with +4, I sweep through his entire team. I thought maybe the Snorlax would survive because it has good special defense, but it doesn't. I'm ridiculously overleveled. Empoleon is also a one-hit, and with that, Honchkrow is off towards the Elite Four. Aaron is first. Set up Nasty Plot once, then Dark Pulse one-shots the Yanmega, one-shots the Vespiquen, one-shots the Heracross. No, it doesn't. Why would it one-shot the Heracross? I should have used Psychic against it. I am not using the right moves against fighting types in this playthrough, I swear. Anyways, I get hit by a Stone Edge. It does about half, but this doesn't matter. Then I go for Psychic and Heracross goes down. Drapion is taken care of by one Dark Pulse, and so is Scizor. Bertha is slightly surprising. Not that she wins. Of course she doesn't. I just set up Nasty Plot and then sweep her team. game, but what I was surprised by was the damage that the Whiscash did using Aqua Tail. That was roughly 1/3, and with Sandstorm damage, I've taken a decent amount by the end of the battle. Flint, he's useless, just set up and then sweep. I only need +2 for this battle to one-shot all of his Pokemon. With him out of the way, I use my final 2 rare candies, going up to level 76, and then take on Lucian. I got lucky right at the beginning of the battle. Nasty Plot, Reflect. If he had chosen Light Screen, I would have set up one more turn, but I don't have to. The only question is, will the Bronzong survive a hit from Dark Pulse? And the answer is no. That's how powerful Honchkrow is. With a lot of momentum and confidence, I headed off to face Cynthia, the last battle of the run. Her first Pokemon is Spiritomb. It's a defensive Pokemon, and as a result, I'm just gonna set up Nasty Plot here. Plus, its moves are terrible against Honchkrow. The free setup essentially gives me a free win. All I want to point out is the fact that I successfully used Psychic against Lucario. As this battle ends, I really want to emphasize that Honchkrow is fantastic in the solo running format. It has a medium slow growth rate, it has Nasty Plot, and it gets a good same type attack bonus move that is very spammable. Dark Pulse is just great. Look up at the results right now. How do you think Honchkrow did? It got a time of 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 55 seconds, with 10 faults consisting of 9 resets and 1 blackout. It beat the game at level 77, and it got a game time of 6 hours and 20 minutes. So where does that place it in the current tier list? Well, its time is under 2 hours and 10 minutes, which means it's going to be an S tier placement. Not something I expected when I sat down to run this line. I did think we would get a B or A tier finish just because of Nasty Plot, but I wasn't expecting it to outperform this much, because today it did better than Arceus. The Legendary's time was 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 2 seconds, so Honchkrow was more than a minute ahead of it. And I also want to remind everyone that I started as a Murkrow. Arceus started as, well, an Arceus, a fully evolved legendary Pokemon right from the beginning. I am really impressed with Honchkrow. It did so well. I'm excited to run another Nasty Plot user in my next Pokemon Platinum video, which is going to feature the Weavile line. Although its base special attack is nowhere near as good as Honchkrow's. Other dark types have not done very well in Pokemon Platinum, so I'm hoping Weavile's going to get a pretty good result as well. If you want to see the other dark types I've done in Pokemon Platinum, check out these 2 videos with Drapion and Skuntank. If you support me on Patreon or through YouTube memberships, thank you so much, it means the world to me. Now, if you've made it this far, you're incredible. I'll see you in my next video.